Oh, this is amazing. Would you look at this? Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Yep. We're here at the Museum of Aviation at Warner Robins Air Force Base. Now, if this is how cool it is on the outside, wait till we go inside. When you first come in, you've got some gentlemen over here at the information desk. And then you're greeted by this beast. Look at that. A McDonnell Douglas F-15A. Look at that bad boy. Look at that. But you're not limited. Look at this. You got old aircraft up in the top. It's amazing. All right, here we go. We've started. And this place is massive. I mean, you've got all kinds of airplanes. What a treat. Look at this. And if you are an aviation buff, home run, y'all. Look at this. So some of these aircraft, have somebody tied to them, like this Brigadier General Robert Lee Scott that you see here. And what's so awesome, you see where he flew this specific plane in 1942. Now think about this. It survived not only wars, but just age. And then what's really, really cool is you see here in the late 1990s, he came and saw his plane. Isn't that something? But you get a lot of war history here, tons of it. And of course, you see all the different, this is 1942. God bless these people who were in this environment. But look at this. And I won't read all this. It's just tons and tons and tons of information here to read and see. But look at this. It's amazing. All right. On we go. A North American T6. Look at that. 770 miles cruising speed. Are you ready for this? 145 miles an hour and a service speed of 23,000 feet. Wow, how warfare has changed. But look at this. The restoration of these aircraft are just spectacular. I mean, some of this stuff is flawless and just beautiful. Look at this. Isn't this something? And then again, as we look over here on the side wall, you can actually see footage of both these planes in action and then just, so much other information. If you are a war history buff, we got a lot of sound effects in the background. If you are a war history buff, so there's all kinds of little nooks and crannies around here where you can see the things. We just saw those two World War II fighter planes. That was kind of interesting. Right behind me, this thing just actually wraps around, and there's places upstairs we're going to be going to. This is a lot to see. I hope you're going to enjoy this. It's going to be fun. This is just walls and walls of information. The Lady Tigers of the 14th Air Force. It's just amazing when you just look at all the historical information. We never hear about this, the China Air Task Force during 1942, and all the efforts that were there. Just phenomenal pieces of information, and the air bases that were, look at that, Kunming Airfield in China. Who would have known? Look at that. And just on and on and on. More Chinese American fighter wing groups. Isn't this amazing? What's also interesting too is a lot of the period uniforms have survived over time that people have donated. Isn't that something? Look at that. Oh, wow, look at these bomber jackets from the period. Oh, I love these things. And these were those from the 14th Air Force that was over in China. Look at that. Would you look at that? Bomber jackets. Wow. That is so awesome. The 483 Bomber Group. Look at that. And this. Showing you the inside fuselage of what a plane would have been like. Look at that. Wow. Your radio operator. Look at that. Bomb bay doors. Look at that. A little bit of this glass. You're going to have a little bit of a reflection here. Kind of give you a back pan. Bomb loads were 6,000 pounds. A lot of times 500 pounds of bomb. Sometimes 300 pounds of bomb. Look at that. Gracious. And if you don't think things were scary, look at this. That was the flak that would come into the plane from the shells bursting in the air. Mercy. Look at that. Look at that. A mock-up of the flight engineer and of course your co-pilot. Navigator. And then right here in the nose, the guy in that most comfortable position was your bombardier. Look at that. Korea, the Forgotten War, 50 to 53. For those who are Korean War history buffs, this is a Republic 484E. And 620 mile per hour max speed, 43,000 feet. So we're really starting to improve in our aircraft. Look at this thing. Wow. I keep sharing this, and I mentioned it before. The restoration of this aircraft is spectacular. I mean, even down to the quality of the landing gear. Look at look how well that's been restored. The people who volunteered their efforts in this are just, and a lot of this was done with volunteer efforts. Isn't this something? More story of the war between 50 and 53 in Korea. Much to read. Tons of information. And just kind of give you an idea here of how active and how massive this campaign was by the Air Force during this period. I will share this with you. The Korean conflict, the 19th Bomb Group flew 645 missions. You ready for this? 5,950 sorties and more than 52 tons of bombs. Wow. Just think about that contribution during that period. I will share this with you. I'm glad I wasn't on the receiving end. Look at this. This is a Stinson L5 Sentinel. This thing had a lot of duties from the war. It did a little bit of everything from reconnaissance to supplies and spotting enemy targets and things like that. That's something. So not everything was big, fast, and went boom. Some of these aircraft had very important duties themselves, but just weren't quite as fancy. This is interesting. The Warner Robins Air Depot shall be keeping them flying long after the victory, 1943. So it wasn't Warner Robins Air Force Base at the time. It was an air depot or depot. Look at that. And this actually, oh, look at this. You can actually see the construction. Look at that. From nothing to this monstrosity that it is today. If you've not been and seen Warner Robins Air Force Base, it's amazing. Look at that. Just look at that. Built the air depot. Think about that in 12 months. It was a phenomenal effort. So that's the first building that we just came into. This is I guess the main entrance to the Museum of Aviation. The next building we're going to is, I think they call it the Museum of Flight, and we'll be going inside that. And this one's got a big, huge mezzanine, and it is really, really cool. Third building will be the World War II building, I believe. So let's go check this out. Hey, y'all. YouTube. Hey, YouTube. Hey, YouTube. This is all Vietnam War era. Coming in from the entrance, look at all this. Wow. Would you look at all this? Isn't this something? This is really amazing. You can see all the aircraft that was used during that period. All the fighter jets. General Electric J-79. Did you see in the distance? F-4D, when I was in the Air Force in the 70s, that was your workhorse. You saw F-4Ds. I was in Surface-to-Air Missile Squadron, and we trained with these guys on a regular basis. I saw tons of those every single day. Flying over the bombing range in Avon Park, Florida. How about that? Piece of history from Jerry. H-3E. Look at that. Look at that. Isn't that something? Wow. More helicopters. Let's look at this. What is this? A Bell UH-1P. Look at that, with a GE minigun hanging out of the back of it. Wow. Isn't this display just absolutely fantastic? Again, the restoration of this aircraft and the pieces and parts is just really something. North American Rockwell OV-10A Bronco. Look at that. Seen those more than once. Cargo and those types of things. One of the workhorses during that period was a HH-43 Husky. Look at that. If I'm not mistaken, we saw a lot of those in Apocalypse Now. Look at that. And you even saw, just your traditional commercial aircraft. That's people flew. A Cessna U-3B used for, light transport and light cargo, those types of things. Cessna A-37A Dragonfly, look at that. And then observation, Cessna OE-1 Bird Dog, look at that. And it even had a little bit of marker flares to support the troops at night. That's what you see hanging off the wings. Well, this is an active air base, and you can hear airplanes in the distance. So that was a Neuterin that we just left. That was, Vietnam era. And then there's two more that I'm really looking forward to going to. That's going to be the Century of Flight Hangar, and then the Scott Exhibit Hangar. So if you've got a large pavilion area that they use from time to time for special events. And then you'll see off in the distance over there, we're going to walk around. I don't think we can go inside that aircraft, but we can at least see it from the outside. But we'll take the opportunity to look at that as well. Several aircraft I want you to see. I don't know if we can make some of these out just because it's kind of dim. We can see this one here. This was an interesting one. I actually heard a presentation on this helicopter. The colonel that flew this in for its retirement had actually used this in war. I can't remember all the details that were behind it. It's been several years ago, but he gave a unique history about this aircraft and bringing it in. Look at some of these others that are here as well. This one's kind of, this is an interceptor. This is a Lockheed T-33A. That came up on your wing. Imagine you wanted to find a place to go. Look at that. Look at that. Cessna T-37B. And look at this thing down here. Heartbreaker. I bet it was. Look at that. That is a General Dynamics F-111E. Think about that thing going 1,423 miles an hour. And look at the payload this thing carried under its wings. That's a beast, isn't it? Convair F-102A. Look at that. That is something. That is something. We got some guys working on restoration, but this is the one I've been wanting to show. Look at this. Isn't that something? A Lockheed SR-71 Blackbird. Look at that beast. Isn't that thing something? That is, I mean, just, I want to just kind of give you the dimensions of just the engines that are on this. It's a tad dark in here. There's the underbelly of this behemoth. There's a great shot of what these engines look like. Look at this. Look at this. Isn't it something? We'll go up top here in just a second and I'll look at that. And think about two of these things on this monster. J58 turbojet engines. 80,000 feet these things could go. Isn't that something? And could go up to Mach 3. Here's the thing that really gets me. 32,500 pounds of thrust. Wow. That is quite a machine. We'll go up top and I'll show you a top view of it. There's a great view. This is better of this helicopter. Look at this thing. See if we can see the back of it too. Not want to face that thing. I don't know if you can see the chain gun sitting back there. I think that's a Johnson chain gun. That's something. Here you go. Here's a great view of this SR-71 Blackbird. A top view of that bad boy. Look at that. Isn't that something? Look at that. I still can't get over the size of these engines. Aren't they something? They are something. And here's a back view of that Blackbird. I know. I keep showing this thing. It's just hard to believe this thing can fly. It's huge. Would you look at this? I think it's just a monster. Wow. So this is Scott's hangar. Let's walk inside and see some of the aircraft in here. This is where most of the restoration for the museum occurs, and this is going to have some interesting aircraft. The nose of a B-29 Super Fortress. Look at this. Now, what was the history of the Super Fortress? Well, this was your primary bomber of World War II. I was sharing earlier, and it's a bit dark in here, but you can actually see this plane is under restoration. Interesting thing is a lot of this is actually done with volunteer efforts. Isn't that something? Here, this has got better light on it. You can actually see where the wings and the engines are being repaired. Wow, something, huh? Oh, this is interesting. Oh, I wish we could go into some of this. I can't do it though. A lot of this is roped off. A de Havilland C-7A. This is a troop transport. But we can get a view inside. But this is as far as I can go here, unfortunately, because all this aircraft is under restoration. But there's still more to see in this building. So leaving this area here where all this restoration is going on, there's a point up here in the corner that I want you to see. piece of history I think is really something to remember. Look at this restored super fortress. Isn't this something? Look at this. Wow. B-29. Look at this thing. And I'm sorry, it's going to get a little dark in here, guys. Something. Look at that. What a view. That's worth a snapshot. This is one of the things I wanted to show. This is the museum's contribution to your Tuskegee Airmen. Isn't that something? That is really something. Nice display to these fearless folks during that period, 1943. The original pilots of the 99th Pursuit Squadron. Flight training during that period by the Tuskegee Airmen being depicted here, and their trainer, Lieutenant General Benjamin Davis, graduate of West Point 36. I'm leaving the building area of the museum, but the museum actually continues on the outside. There's a substantial amount of aircraft that we can look at here out on the grounds, and I think you're going to get a kick out of that too. And this is a B-52D. The B-52s are actually located here for quite a while at Warner Robins Air Force Base. I don't think they're here anymore. I think they've been moved. But this is what they call the Strata Fortress. I actually showed this from when we went to the USS Alabama. And these things are monsters. This one was built in 1957. And you definitely didn't want to be on the receiving end of this bad boy here, that's for sure. Let's walk around, and there's just so much more other aircraft to be able to see here. Let's take a look at that. So a wide variety of aircraft, from those that were for material use. This was a cargo plane, and you see all kinds of different fighter jets that were out here. It would be remiss of me not to be able to show one of these while I was here. This is a C-131. This is an E-series. This is the workhorse of the military. Big time cargo plane. Then we see various other aircraft that's located here. This is some type of communications or jamming. I'm not sure. I don't see a plaque on this one. This is an EC-12. I think they call them a Constellation. And I think these were used for communications and electronic surveillance. You see all the antennas and the big pods that were on them. Interesting. When you come here, there's plenty of restaurants in the area if you want to do that type of a thing. But you'll notice there's just a ample amount of picnic areas that are here in the area. Places for the kiddos to swing and do those types of things. That's a noise in the background that you see over there. That's Highway 247 coming to this area. Bathrooms, and if you look over in the parking lot, there's plenty of parking, and you can even get your campers in here with no problem. Well, of all the aircraft, large and small, this is probably one of my favorites. This is the A-10 Warthog. This kind of reminds me of the kid in the playground that you don't want to mess with. If you do, he is going to finish it. This is quite a war beast here. One of my favorites. I hope you have enjoyed this tour. 4 buildings and in the outside area of all these great airplanes. It really is a fantastic place to look. Some little ones are having fun behind me. We are just a few minutes from the Interstate I-75 right here in Middle Georgia. And if you're coming by, it's minutes from the interstate. Plenty of parking for your RV to be able to pull out here and be able to come and see the museum. It's no trouble with that whatsoever. Very easy access off of Highway 247. Hope you get a chance to be able to come and see this. It really is a spectacular place of aviation history, both military and civilian, predominantly military, from World War II to present. It's really spectacular. Just really love it. Great campgrounds in the area from Perry. There's a few out here in Warner Robins, and of course, my favorite is located in Macon, right off of 475 at Lake Tobesofkee Recreation Center. And that's a big favorite of mine. As a matter of fact, I'll put a link up here so you can see that one as well. And it's just a short, maybe 15-minute, 20-minute drive down here to the museum. And then you can see some other fun stuff in Middle Georgia as well while you're here. I hope you get a chance to come see this Museum of Aviation here in Warner Robins. It's absolutely spectacular. You'll love it. I love it. And you know what? I love RV life too.